Hello everyone, and welcome back to the final version of my Flicker Strike Herald Bomber Acolyte of Chayula. I'm just going to start off with the highest difficulty to Xesht, get monster level 82, and give an explanation of kind of what I'm doing to set up bossing. I don't need this. You will probably need to be doing this on map bosses because they've made them so much harder now with the new update. But the main tech for out of combat power charges is Sacrifice and Profane Ritual. And then we have a Rattling Scepter in our second weapon set, and as much cast speed as possible. Also in the tree. Also in the tree, second weapon set has Unstable Bond, so when we Profane Ritual a Persistent Reviving minion, we are going to get Volatility, and because Chayula doesn't take damage on Volatility, we just stack this all the way up. I'll activate my power charges to get full stacks of Charge Staff. For me, I don't need any Volatility to one-shot Xesht, but I'll just start with like 60 or so that you can get an idea. I put Wither and Armor Break in my Quarterstaff Strike so that boosts our damage up. So I just hit until I see 50%, and then I flicker, and he's dead. We had 72% volatile power and some other stuff that really enabled us to one-shot him. Obviously, that was like 3 strikes, so we can easily see a lot more damage out of Flicker Strike because an 8 power charge Flicker Strike does 19 strikes because of one with the Storm. So killing Xesht 12 million HP in 3 strikes, we would have another 16 to go. So that would generally mean that we can kill things that have 80 million plus HP. I haven't tested the exact top end. I will eventually. You may see a video. This video is already super delayed. But now I'll get into a map just to show you how the main tech of the Herald bombing works in general. And I also have another staff to show you with this. Just going to throw all this in a dump tab for right now. And I'm going to explain why extra physical damage can do the same things as Uul-Netols. Uul-Netols is better, but I will show you various ways to do it. Right now, I have my Uul-Netols embrace chaos damage and breaks armor, and so because we're doing a really good baseline of chaos damage, that will break armor and cause an armor explosion, and then armor explosion can trigger both Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder because it's a non-Herald attack hit, and because we have the main basis of our damage is physical, cold, lightning, and chaos. We're doing a ton of extra cold, we're doing a ton of extra chaos, we get a ton of lightning damage from Charge Staff. All of that kind of meshes together to have it happen. So the main tech to get Herald chaining working is on one of your Heralds, have Armor Explosion, Uul-Netols Embrace, and Armor Break 3. Armor Break 3 is for endurance charges, really, so that we get endurance charges for charge regulation. Now, I am just going to grab a random tier 15 map, get it upgraded, and then we're just going to make it as delirious as possible so that you can see a 90% delirious map, one of the hardest maps that you can run. And then we also have an irradiated tablet. So we'll go to Mineshaft as a powerful map boss. And so this will be monster level 80. I could try to find an 82, but I think you'll get the point across with 90% delirious so that you can see what it looks like in a map. When we're in a map, we do the same thing that we were doing on the boss, where we get our power charges all the way up, and then we just go from there, and we hold F down for Reaper's Invocation to get our charges back, and then we just fly through the map. I will do the whole map so that you guys can see the full gameplay, and I'll just kind of touch on some things that I'm doing. If my Reaper's Invocation doesn't give me enough power charges back, I just manually cast it. When I get in trouble, I can dodge roll, and my Void Illusion will get me out of that trouble because it's an attack hit and will also pop the Herald Bomb. Grabbing a Tempest Shrine, and then we're just going. The reason why I moved it to Herald of Thunder instead of Herald of Ice is specifically for Delirious monsters. Herald of Ice does not pop on Delirious monsters. I think Herald of Ice is a bigger explosion, more satisfying, longer chains, but because Delirious monsters don't explode with Herald of Ice, my main Herald that is continuing the chain is Herald of Thunder for the Delirious monster reason, which means that this build can successfully do Simulacrum. I think I have a Simulacrum clip of this character doing Simulacrum. It's probably not as quality as what the build is at now, since this is the final version, but I'll try to include that if you're interested in doing Simulacrum. The main thing is just swapping your power charge generation from Profane Ritual to Killing Palm, because you cannot get power charges from corpses in Simulacrum. It just doesn't exist. And the map has steel power charges, so that's generally a mod you're not going to want if you're mainly a power charge based build. But because this has a powerful map boss in it, they've juiced the crap out of map bosses now. They're like harder than any Pinnacle content. So I am going to stack up a little bit for this. So Armor Break, get full charges, and then kill her. I didn't even catch how much damage we did, but basically I just flicker as soon as I get to as many Wither charges as I can, and then I also am Armor Breaking with that. And because our staff is mainly physical, that's why we're implementing Armor Break. I also have Exposure in there. So if I had a mainly elemental staff, then Exposure is what we're doing there to help our elemental damage out. That's most of the map, so I'll just go ahead and kind of end it there for now. And go through the gear now. So you do not need Mirror Tier gear. Actually, what I am going to do before I do that is I'm going to open up a different map. We'll just do this one. And I'm not going to make it Delirious. Actually, I bet there's enough of this map left that I can show you. So I've swapped staffs. This has extra physical damage in it. And I need to make some changes so that you all can see this. So instead of having Uul-Netols Embrace in Herald, I'll just take it out just for the purposes of demonstration. I will put Armor Break into Herald of Ice along with Armor Explosion, because the damage as extra physical enables this. So Armor Explosion. So you can get this working on a very low budget using this method instead. So we'll just do this for right now. So here's my Giga staff, here's my regular staff. I'll go through the staffs in more details, but this really isn't anything to write home about. T2 flat fizz. It does have 7 to all attack skills, but 6 is fine. It has crit bonus, and it's like a low tier physical damage roll. You can get a staff very similar to this for pretty cheap. I'll go back into Mineshaft so that you can see that it does in fact work. And then we'll go find some more monsters. Maybe it doesn't work because the map is too delirious. It was working a little bit. But it's obviously better in Uul-Netols, but this is working to break armor. And you can see some of the chaining happening as you're doing that. So if you want a budget version, and you can do that, Uul-Netols is obviously better, as I was talking about. But if I had more damage on this quarterstaff in general, this extra physical damage, then that would break armor enough to start the chain. So yeah, that would be what I would suggest if you can't afford Uul-Netols, because they're like 10 div right now. With all that said, I'll go through the main stuff that I am running right now so that you all have a good frame of reference of what I'm running. Quarterstaff Strike, I don't even have it all the way filled out because, oh, I forgot to put Armor Break in there. That's okay. Quarterstaff Strike is rapid attacks, Withering Touch, Rage 3, Cold Exposure, and Armor Break. Basically, Quarterstaff Strike just exists so that we can shoot Charge Staff out in between flickers and to prime bosses with Withering Touch getting a bit of rage before the boss, exposure, and armor break. So this is just basically boosting all of our baseline damages that Flicker does. Void Illusion comes from our ascendancy, which I'll cover in the tree. We put cooldown recovery, life leech, mana leech, magnified area, and pinpoint so that it's always critting. When I have a power charge, this always crits, so it just does good damage. Flicker Strike. The main skills that I recommend, I have an over-sanctified critical hit staff, so my critical hit chance, including a passive point from the tree, my base critical hit chance is 18.18%. So I'm running Diala's Desire instead of Pinpoint Critical, but I would put Pinpoint Critical in here if you don't have a super high critical hit chance staff. If you have like a Sinister base that's like 16 plus, you can run Diala's, but Diala's is also like 30 div. So for most of you, I would just run Pinpoint Critical to get crit cap. 78.5% base is what you're looking for when you have Pinpoint Critical or Diala's in, because when you're using charge regulation, once you get a power charge, that is going to take Flicker to 100% crit chance, which is a big requirement for the top end damage of this build. Speaking top end damage, without any other buffs, just charge staff and a power charge, we get up to 800,000, 950,000 plus. So when we're in maps with all of the conditional stuff going on, this easily reaches like 2 million. So that's just what you can look forward to. As for the other links, so it's either Pinpoint Critical or Diala's Desire. Close Combat 2, Hit and Run. You can also run Garrican's if you're having trouble with boss damage. Garrican's Resolve is this. It just basically it doubles your critical damage bonus when you crit. You have to place this in place of Hit and Run because the category is Hit and Run. So you can't have both in there. So Hit and Run, I would mostly use anyway. I would just try to get your damage high enough that you don't need to replace it. Because the 40% more skill speed just makes Flicker really awesome to use. So there's not near as much wind up, which is also why we have Rapid Attacks 2 in for increased attack speed, and then we also have Concentrated Area, which is just 30% more damage. So if I take this out, we go from 630 with 8 power charge staff to 485, so 30% damage is 30% damage. If you don't want damage, you can also just put more area of effect here, so your Flicker chains longer. So your acquisition distance on the next target is wider when you have more AoE in Flicker. Next is Charge Staff, and I actually shouldn't be running Withering Touch. I was testing it, so in place of this, I usually put Innervate so that I can get some damage as extra lightning. But we can just put Innervate in here. So this is basically our Innervate and Ice Bite bitch. As well as when you have really high attack skills and the level of corruption, it is adding flat lightning damage. So 3 to 48 flat lightning damage per power charge, and you have 8 power charges that does this. So 8 times 48. It's 51 is the average damage. So I'll just do 51 divided by 2 times 8. So it is adding a flat 204 lightning damage, and if we multiply that by 1.4, it's 285.6 DPS. So that would be like, that just turns our Sinister Quarterstaff from 700 flat DPS to almost 1,000 just from running Charge Staff. That's how much flat lightning it's giving you. So yes, Charge Staff is absolutely required. And then the Shockwave also does really good damage. Like, so much so to the point that you can just Quarterstaff strike whenever you're in trouble. The Charge Staff shooting off will prop your Heralds and just explode the screen in front of you. What I'm running in Charge Staff is Ice Bite and Innervate to get the damages extra lightning and cold. I run Freeze so that I'm consistently getting extra cold damage. Prolonged Duration so I don't have to keep the charges up for as often. And then Toll Stillness, which is enabling the chaos damage on this, the 2000 that I have here, to contribute to freeze buildup. so that I'm for sure freezing and proccing Ice Bite. And the reason that's important is we don't really have any flat cold right now. So flat cold is very important for the build. Profane Ritual, charge profusion, overabundance, mobility, rapid casting, and unleash on the manual Profane Ritual. On Reaper's Invocation, I have Profane Ritual and energy gain, so it's boundless energy, charge profusion, 2, overabundance, and compressed duration. It's important that you do overabundance 1 because it's 50% less skill effect duration instead of 40 on overabundance 2. The reason why you want less skill effect duration on Profane Ritual and Reaper's Invocation is it makes it so the charges come back to you faster. It consumes the corpse faster, so the power charge comes back to you quicker. Sacrifice is how we're getting power charges out of combat. So it does have to be active in both weapon sets, which was the big nerf in 0.4, but we were able to fit it in because we're running 210 Spirit. Herald of Ice, I'm just doing Frozen Spite, Life Leech, Shock, Elemental Armament, and Magnified Area. Really, you can put whatever you want in your non-Uul-Netols Herald. Again, if you don't care about doing Simulacrum, my recommendation is to run it in Herald of Ice. It's more satisfying, it's bigger booms, it's awesome. But because I'm running Delirious maps constantly and I want to farm Simulacrum, I have it in Herald of Thunder. Combat Frenzy, this is just quality of life. I just want to make sure that I always have Frenzy charges for charge regulation. And charge regulation is giving us 27% more critical hit chance, 20% more defenses, and 16% more skill speed. So because when we fully break armor, we're gaining endurance charges, we're constantly doing that with Uul-Netols Embrace and Herald of Thunder. So we always have endurance charges. Combat Frenzy obviously enables us to always have Frenzy charges because this is the only thing consuming it. And then Reaper's Invocation, Profane Ritual is always guaranteeing that we have power charges. So we get full value out of charge regulation. Uhtred's Exodus is super cheap and it can be put into this to make sure that you have the best passive buffs from charge regulation. And then finally, Herald of Thunder. I always recommend putting Freeze and Frost Nexus in if you're Acolyte of Chayula, because Chill is considered an ailment for our Ascendancy, and I'll go into the Ascendancy next, so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about as far as why we benefit from chilling monsters all the time. So Frost Nexus Freeze always in, and then Armor Explosion, Uul-Netols, and Armor Break 3 in whatever Herald you have Uul-Netols in, so that you can enable the chain. That's it for the skills. I'll go into the passive tree next. This passive tree is very optimized, and I wouldn't say there's too many other changes I'd want to make to it. I'm sure there's some super duper min-max stuff, but this is just very comfortably what I think is the strongest. Maybe not the highest tooltip DPS or the highest DPS in general, but just for this build, it's the strongest that I've been able to come up with. So we path through this side of the starting tree and get skill speed, critical damage bonus, flow like water, grab mindful awareness. We go through the crits wheel here. We grab moment of truth. We grab these attack damage nodes. We grab the power charge here. We grab the power charge here. We grab more crit and crit bonus here. We grab the ES here. We grab ES. The ES is stun threshold. ES, second weapon set, cast speed. Second weapon set, cast speed. Second weapon set, cast speed. Get up here for the jewel slot, and then second weapon set, unstable bond, which is Acolyte specific. So if you're not Acolyte, you don't need to go this direction. And that's the beginning part of the tree, the left side. Then we continue on from there and we go and grab Killer Instinct and Tenfold attacks. This jewel socket is an Against the Darkness Time Lost Diamond. I have a 4 and 4%. You don't need a double 4%, but I would recommend whatever Herald you're having Uul-Netols in, I would pick up a 4% of damage as extra cold or lightning. The extra cold in Chaos and the extra lightning in Chaos, Chaos being the second one, is actually the cheapest of all the double 4%. So I would recommend just grabbing the Chaos, because we obviously utilize Chaos damage very well. And then I'm also taking, in this jewel slot, From Nothing Diamond, Resonance, because Resonance enables us to grab a ton of points here to enable this Against the Darkness to be as strong as possible. So Resonance allows us to get for the Jugular, True Strike, Chakra of Thought. So this is crit bonus and attributes, crit chance and attributes, a ton of attack speed for 1 point. This is the best singular attack speed point in the game. Event Horizon, which is just a ton of chaos damage. I would recommend putting this in weapon slot 1 so that when you're using it in weapon slot 2, you're not eating your energy shield down. Spaghettification for move speed, attributes, and chaos damage. And then Resonance allows us to grab these 4 points without grabbing all of the travel nodes. So we have Stylebender, which breaks more armor and increased physical damage, and the 4 and 4%. This is 4 and 4%. Really, I don't care about days at all. It's just literally 8% damage is extra. This one is Dex and 8% damage is extra. This one is cast speed for our second weapon set and 8% damage is extra and 15% evasion rating. If you're an evasion-based build, this is extra mana leech and maximum energy shield and 8% damage. This is attack damage and 8% extra damage. This is attack speed and strength and 8% damage. So that's the full combo of this area of the passive tree. Super duper strong. If I take this against the darkness out, you'll see I'm at 458. And I take this out, I lose 100,000 damage just by taking this guy out. So very much super strong. Obviously, if I wasn't taking these 4 points, I could get more crit bonus or something like that. But it's just a very, very strong thing because then it's also enabling us. This is where all of our cold damage is coming from, and it's giving us a ton of extra chaos. If I take this out and I show you again, we suddenly just don't have much cold damage. I have the extra damage as elements in my quarterstaff, so that's where I'm getting all of my cold damage from here. But if I wasn't running those, then I'd be kind of SOL. But we go from 15,000 top end to double, 29,000 top end. So pretty great there. So continuing on, we get more power charges, we get the crit bonus, and we get this here, you just kind of go with what you need. If you need more crit, you get more crit. If you just want damage, you get more damage. But you always get one with the storm, and you always get one with the river. This is just 30% increased ES and evasion, plus the freeze buildup, and we want the freeze buildup. So we always get the quarterstaff nodes. Then we're always getting the crit nodes for struck through, crit bonus, crit hit, and then I have a +3 of all flicker strike skills. Our Heart of the Well in this slot here is extra cold, critical damage bonus, critical hit chance, Leech is instant. Leech is instant is very important because of the defense layer that we're using. We're pure ES, leeching ES with Essentia Sanguis here. So even if you're hybrid energy shield and evasion, I would recommend being Essentia Sanguis because this is just always keeps you topped up and it enables you to not have to run Chevron Satchel, which is the one that if you have an instant life flask, then it can heal your energy shield. But because we have such big energy shield pool in maps with all buffs, we're over 10k, Chevron Satchel just isn't enough. Then we're going up here, getting the extra critical hit chance here. You have to get abasement if you go CI. Stun ailment, more stun ailment, and stun recovery. This is also when you're first starting out and you don't have GIGA ES, I recommend running a heavy belt so that you get more stun threshold so that you're not stunned all the time. And then finally, we are grabbing some energy shield from Patient Barrier up here. And that is the full passive tree. All right, now for the gear. If you have four to 5 mirrors and you want to buy my quarterstaff, let me know. I will let you have. I'll part with this for 4 mirrors as a viewer discount instead of 5 mirrors. This cost me and a friend around 1,300 divine to make, and we got lucky on the sanctify. So this is oversynced just barely on flat fizz, it's oversynced on increased fizz, normal range for elemental damage with attacks, oversynced on critical hit chance, and oversynced on attack skills. You don't need this quarterstaff to make it work. You saw me clearing it with this quarterstaff, which is undersynced on literally everything except the attack skills. Attack skills is great, obviously, but you can get a staff just like this and do all content with it. And maybe at the very, very top end, if you're doing 90 to 100% delirious maps, this staff wouldn't cut it. But if you're at that point anyway, you probably have the currency to get a better staff. Side note, Hollow Palm, it just doesn't chain the Heralds. So I'm sorry, I've tried and tried and tried, even with all the crazy damage that I have from jewels and my regular gear, I just couldn't get it to consistently work on even just paranoia delirious maps. So shit out of luck if you're a Hollow Palm enjoyer. So there's the quarterstaff. A lot of people are asking, okay, what kind of quarterstaff should I use? Should I use all elemental? Should I use all physical? Should I use da-da-da-da-da? I'm only using an all physical because of the Against the Darkness setup that I have, the Heart of the Well that I have, the cores that I have, the quarterstaff that I have. Like, all of those things enable me to not need elemental damage, and physical is the highest top end DPS that we can get. So that's why I'm personally running a physical. So at the very top end of the build, physical ends up being better because it just has a little bit higher ceiling. Just barely, though. Otherwise, I would recommend having flat lightning and flat cold on your staff, and then elemental damage to attacks, or flat fire, or increased fizz, like whatever you want to do. A good rule of thumb for a quarterstaff is if you get tier 1 physical damage, flat physical, it has to be paired with percent physical, or it's just not good. So there's really two directions you want to go, is 2 big flat elementals with elemental damage to attacks, 3 big flat elementals, or flat fizz, increased fizz, or you can replace one of the flat elementals with increased fizz if it's a big roll. So those are kind of all the combinations. For suffixes, you always want high crit, you always want attack skills, and then you can choose between critical damage bonus or attack speed. Attack speed just makes Flicker feel better and just move through the map faster. And critical damage bonus is just obviously higher top end. Next is a really important part of the build is Ming's Heart. You can get a 48% damage as extra, or just a 40% that hasn't been qualitied for literally like 1 chaos. So this is the easiest thing to pick up and is also huge for your damage. If I take this Ming's out, I lose 100k damage. 114k. I know that I have increased damage on here as well, but Ming's is just huge amounts of chaos damage. And because we aren't running life, the reduced maximum life we don't care about. The reduced global defenses, yes, we lose 500 ES, but the amount of damage we get from this is just so strong that not even a top tier breach ring can even compete with this. And it enables Uul-Netols Embrace without needing to get Against the Darkness like I have. My other ring, I'm just optimized for rarity, but your second ring, the main thing is double leech, and then flat attack damage is the things that you want. Or you can get a resist in here. I'm solving resist elsewhere, but double leech is the big thing here. So this build, the hardest thing to solve for is resistances. If you're running it like I'm running it, the main thing is you should be able to solve all of your resistances across helmet, chest, belt, and boots. And Essentia Sanguis also gives like a really good lightning resistance roll. It's always 30 plus usually, 25 to 35. So like you can get some lightning res from your unique. And then if you're running the heavy belt like I recommend when you're starting out, you can get a ton of resistance from that as well. But that's it for rings. So I have Giga Rarity, flat damage to attacks, and double leech is what I'm running. Helmet is a +1 maximum power charges, the biggest ES you can find, regardless of what defensive layer you're using, either hybrid or flat ES. You always want the biggest one here, because if you're running hybrid, you're going to go Subterfuge Mask, which is right here, which gives just as much evasion rating as a top tier evasion rating helmet. If you have high ES. So you want high ES, and you want a max power charge, likely some resistances. I'm also adding rarity. You can also get one with like 30% plus critical hit chance if you need some more crit hit chance. So that's your helmet. Amulets, there's been tons of videos on how to deterministically craft these. Me and a friend have been crafting a ton of them, and so we finally sanctified +4 melee skills for ourselves. So I have +4 melee here. It's a rarity amulet so that I can get as close to 150% rarity as possible. I can actually get over that right now because I have a rarity corrupted Ming's Heart. But for these amulets here, you want increased maximum energy shield is the best defensive modifier, then global defenses, and 50 spirit. Those are kind of the big three on prefixes. For suffixes, you want crit hit chance, critical damage bonus, and melee skills. And then you don't have to run rarity. It's just whatever you want. You can try to sacrifice crit bonus and crit hit chance, but because these are deterministically crafted, it's actually hard to get an amulet with resistance. An amulet just like this with just the 3 melee skills is actually pretty easy to pick up. So now that I'm on the amulet talking about spirit, I want to touch on spirit. So the minimum spirit requirement to run the build as a whole is 150. I recommend 210 to run everything that I'm running, but I'll go through the 150 spirit that I recommend. So first spirit piece is Reaper's Invocation at 30 spirit. Then Sacrifice at 60 spirit. So that's 90 spirit. Herald of Ice for 30 spirit. That's 120 spirit. Or Herald of Thunder. If you're running only a solo Herald, Herald of Ice is better. It just sucks against Simulacrum. But that's 120 spirit. And then Charge Regulation for 30 more spirit. That's 150 spirit. Then, once you get up to 210 spirit like myself, you can run Herald of Thunder and Combat Frenzy, or Herald of Ice if you were running Herald of Thunder before. So that's what we'll do for the spirit requirement. So you really should be able to get all of your spirit requirements met with just your amulet. So if you want more Giga defenses from your chest, you can. This chest is actually an 800 ES chest. I've just put rarity cores in it because I'm maxing out rarity at 150% so that I get as many drops as possible. But this just has resistances, 60 spirit to run 210 spirit, and increased maximum energy shield, max energy shield. It's pretty straightforward. I think this is actually like 795 energy shield, because when I crafted this, I got a little unlucky and only got tier 2, but I got super lucky on the rest of this. So I ended up crafting this guy for like 20 div, when these go for like 200. So beggars can't be choosers. Boots, I'm running rarity, resistances, move speed, and Giga ES. If you're even richer than me and can do the deterministic craft on this and get top tier resistances, more power to you. I've been pretty happy with this, but you can get the double socket move speed tech if you wanted to run that. But they're super duper expensive, and I'm happy with this because Flicker moves me around plenty fast. Lastly, I like the way attack speed makes Flicker feel, so I swapped from a Headhunter to get guaranteed attack speed from a Darkness Enthroned. You can actually get a 100% increased effect of socketed items gloves for pretty cheap. The attack speed cores are like 10 div each, or 6 div, whatever they were, but if I do gloves, and I do increased effect of socketed items, and I say 100, you can grab a belt just like this for 2 annulment, which is 2/3 of a div right now. I have fire resist corrupted in here to help me get fire resist capped. But if you're going for just the overcorrupt, you want 113% is the breakpoint for you to start getting more cast speed or attack speed than you would. And obviously that's when they start getting a little bit more expensive. So 113 is the breakpoint you're looking for there if you want a little bit more attack speed. But generally speaking, the corrupts are better. So if I just do like 100, you can get like an energy shield corrupt or resistance. Pretty easily. So if I say enchant energy shield, you know, this is like 8 div obviously, but those corrupts are generally going to be better than just getting a little bit more attack speed. And this belt, like, because you can do it on so many different things like body armors and boots. You can put movement speed cores in a belt like this. You can do it from gloves. You can do it all over the place. This Darkness Enthroned is just really cool because it's really good build diversity, but I'm running attack speed. You can also run Headhunter here or the heavy belt like I talked about. The life flask doesn't really matter. I just use this one because it's the only life flask that actually does anything. This just makes it so I don't lose rage. I always forget to press it, so I don't even use it. Then I just have an instant recovery Giga Charges one. If I ever want to run Ambrosia, then I can run Ambrosia because I have a Giga Charge mana flask. And then I'm just running rarity on these. And then if you are rich and you have 50 div to spend on a rite of passage, I like Spirit of the Owl because it gives us increased energy shield when it procs, increased damage, and extra cold damage, which is the theme here. That's everything. So I finally released the finalized version of the build. There's no real changes that I'd be making. I'm continuing to play. My goal is to try to hit level 100. I've been struggling to get through 97, but I think I'll figure a way to power through it here shortly. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Thanks to Misushiro for calling me out in his Herald Bomber video. I'd really appreciate that call out. And if you like this and other builds like this, and you want to follow Flicker Striking, you want to follow Acolyte of Chayula, you want to follow some other unique tech that I may find with other builds, then like the video, subscribe, and comment, because I usually answer all comments. Thanks, everybody, and you can also catch me live on YouTube Live or twitch.tv every once in a while. Try to stream as often as I can.